she worked with Matthew Pavlich, the legend at Fremantle, and she'd worked with other people as well, good stars on the Channel 9 years. We'd like to welcome on board Erin.
Hello.
Nice to meet you. I've got some questions to ask you today. How did you get your first get into sports reporting?
I've always wanted to be a sports reporter, but when I was at uni, started studying a business degree and didn't really enjoy it, so I went to a careers person at Curtin where I studied, and they told me to change courses, and I did, and I've been very lucky to be a sports journalist now for a little while, but I started through news first. So
that's nice. That's cool. What do you think of Fremantle Dockers' performance this year?
Oh, it's been a little bit of a mixed bag for the Dockers. They haven't had a good few weeks, but they were very good on the weekend. I think they started the season very well. They had a few shaky weeks, but I think if the weekend's anything to go off, then I think that they're doing pretty well, the Dockers.
Who's your favourite Freo player?
Well, that's a tricky one. I would probably say I quite like Caleb Sarong. I think he's a really good player. I think as well, everybody loves Matt Fyfe, and we were all reminded on the weekend why we all love Matt Fyfe. But I quite like most of the Dockers in the team anyway.
What do you think of Matthew Pavlich?
I love working with Pav. He's a great human. He was a great footy player, and he's a very good person to work with as well. He is a very, very handy person to work with, being a new sports journalist, because he knows a lot about footy and a lot about, I've learned recently, a lot about some other sports too.
Wow. Who is your favourite player to interview, AFL or cricket?
Oh, that's a tricky one. I have interviewed quite a few AFL players as of recent. I think I interviewed Tom Barras a few weeks ago. He was quite entertaining and quite insightful. It's always interesting hearing from the AFL coaches. But I was pretty fortunate when the West Test was here. I got to interview Mitch Marsh.
That's cool.
I'm a big fan of Mitch Marsh and all the Aussie cricketers, but I think getting to hear from some of these Aussie cricketers that I've really kind of idolised for a few years, and now I get to deal with them in a work sense, that's pretty cool too.
What do you think of the 2021 Grand Final here?
I think it was pretty cool. I think maybe we miss out every year not getting to have that maybe a little bit more often. I didn't get to go to the game. I was working, but I got to speak to lots of fans outside. But I think that, it's great that the MCG gets to have it every year, but wouldn't it be great if we got to have it a little bit more often on this side of the country?
It would be. What do you do when you're not working?
Good question, actually. I am quite active. I'm into my running and my swimming, and also catching up with family and friends. And I love music, so I'm often going to live music. But often when I'm not working, Aaron, you'll find me at live sport. So it's sport 24/7 for me.
I know you've probably seen it before, but what's your thought of the WA winning the third Shield title?
Oh, it was amazing, wasn't it? I got to be there when it happened. I was so lucky, and I love cricket and I love the Sheffield Shield, so I think WA had us on the edge of our seats there. We didn't think it was going to happen that day, and like I said, I was fortunate enough to be there and to see it happen. And WA has always been such a strong cricket state, so it's just great to see them continue that dominance and continue to really, be the best in domestic cricket.
Who did you interview on that day?
We spoke to Sam Whiteman. We were fortunate enough to speak to him, and I also got to speak with, it was not that long ago, but it feels like it was so long ago. I'm trying to think of who else. Cameron Gannon as well. He was really interesting, and Corey Roccaccioli, who is a lot of guys who have not only, I guess, dominated in the Shield this year, but for a few years.
Wow. What's your tips of giving me a better sports reporter?
I think the biggest thing is just, listening to what people have to say. Sometimes the most interesting stories in the sports field come from what they're actually doing off the field. So I think being able to, understand that sports people, I think in Australia we put them on a bit of a pedestal, but understanding, they are people as well, and they've all got their own really cool stories as well. Like there's Tom Emmett, who plays for the Dockers, who I'm sure you know who Tom Emmett is, but he's got this really interesting history, and he's overcome cancer and all these sorts of things. And there's so many players who have got really cool backstories that so often we talk to them about sport and only sport, but being able to actually hear more about them as people.
That's cool. What is the most challenging part of your job?
Probably switching off. I mentioned I love going to live sport and things like that, but even then you're always thinking about what the storyline is. But I mean, I'm pretty blessed to be in a profession where I love what I do, so I don't necessarily think anything that I find too difficult is that much of an issue at all. It's just keeping across what's happening in sport on your days off can be a little bit difficult sometimes, but when you're a bit of a sports nut like me, then it's not too hard at all.
What do you love most about being a sports reporter?
I say this to people probably every day, is that I get to make a career out of watching sport and talking to people about sport. I get to, look at all these different games and all these different stories in a different way to maybe the ways that I have growing up. And I basically get paid to watch sport and talk about sport, so I don't think that there's too much bad about that, Aaron.
What's the worst story that you've interviewed by any player?
I don't know if I've got a worst. I think the ones that probably I leave feeling a bit disappointed is maybe when I don't prepare properly and I feel like maybe I haven't given them the best opportunity. I don't think I've ever had a bad experience yet. I know some people have had some experiences, but I'm pretty blessed that everyone I've spoken to has been really great.
Wow. Well, thank you very much for having me on my podcast today. And it's amazing to have someone that works hard for sports. Thank you, Erin.
Thank you.